Welcome to Lit PR, that is Literary Public Radio. We're here with you today to cover the ongoing tales of Hamlet, Prince of Denmark. In this first act, we meet the guards on the tower at night. It doesn't seem like much. I mean, they're doing what they're supposed to do, or at least they're pretending to. They're just gossiping about court drama. But wait, there are developments. As they watch and gossip about the supposed ghosts, none other than the ghost appears. And with good Horatio on scene, the trusted right-hand man of Hamlet, General Do-Gooder, they decide that it might be a good idea to let someone else know that there is a creepy supernatural being lurking around the castle. Good call, gentlemen. Good call. In the next scene, we meet our current king of Elsinore Castle, excuse me. We are, in fact, in Denmark. Claudius. Claudius may seem familiar to previous listeners as he is the brother of the dead King Hamlet Sr. Very odd happenings here in Denmark. Because not only is Claudius king now, he's also married Queen Gertrude. And of course, young Hamlet is none too happy about this. He mopes about the castle. He makes his grief known through snide comments and more than a few puns. This is all a great contrast with the hubbub around the court. Everybody else is keen to celebrate, to make merry, and make the best of this, quote, bad situation. Normally when a king dies, the kingdom mourns. I mean, it is the king. He puts the king in kingdom. Yet, here they are, party and hearty. And Hamlet finally meets up with our guards, Horatio, Bernardo, and Marcellus, and they tell him about this ghost of Hamlet Sr., supposedly, finally putting something to action. And with that, they make a plan. We don't really hear much about it, but we know that Hamlet plans to join them that night, which doesn't seem like too much of a big deal until you realize this is the Prince of Denmark. He probably had something outrageously rich to be doing, hanging out with his 16th century yacht, or hunting dogs, or anything fun aside from a cold battlement in the middle of night. Yet that is where young Prince Hamlet will be. But soon it transitions, and we see the ever-verbose Polonius with Laertes, or in Polonius's chambers, excuse me. Laertes is actually saying goodbye to his sister. He's very keen on destroying Ophelia's relationship. I mean, it's not even a matter of discouraging. He really wants to destroy this relationship. He does not trust Hamlet, and he assumes that Hamlet is only seeking to use his sister. And this is the 16th century. A woman's only value is in her purity, especially if she is of noble rank like Ophelia. So if Ophelia decides to get a little too friendly with Hamlet, she essentially becomes worthless. History, full of just depressing facts. But as this goes on, Laertes finally realizes he should leave as an entire ship is waiting on him. But lo and behold, then Polonius makes his appearance. And Polonius, like I said, ever verbose, proceeds to, instead of giving his son just a brief, heartfelt goodbye, as he's already pretty much told him goodbye in the last scene, he instead waxes on about life and finance and just general advice on morals on being a good person. And keep in mind, this is as an entire ship of people waits on one human who just happens to be rich. So eventually, Laertes boards and finally departs, I'm sure much to the happiness of his cabin mates. But then Ophelia is left alone with her father, Polonius. And as can be expected, women's roles in this time are not exactly friendly. Ophelia tries to explain her insights to her father, but each time she opens her mouth, he just overrules her, he ignores her, He's not listening. He's determined that Hamlet is up to no good. He does not love Ophelia, and even if he could love Ophelia, it wouldn't work. Because you see, both of these speeches from Polonius and Laertes, I mean, they're very similar, except Laertes can get to the point and just say what he means. But both of them are telling Ophelia that apparently she's not worthy of Hamlet, and even if she was, there's no way he's interested in her. Which is a pretty painful blow to anyone's psyche and self-esteem. But thankfully for Laertes and Polonius, they are so self-absorbed they do not even notice what they've done to Ophelia. And we continue with our breaking news today. As we transition tonight, King Claudius, as many may know, is having a huge celebration in Elsinore Castle, celebrating his marriage and, in theory, the life of King Hamlet Sr. It's odd. He keeps claiming that he's mourning his brother, but you really don't hear his name very often. But with that in mind, it's very easy to notice who's not there amongst the celebrating, and that would be Prince Hamlet. He is outside on the battlements with Horatio and a few of the other guards. They're waiting for this ghost. And they're talking about it. Naturally, Horatio didn't even believe it in the first place, so he's very upset at the idea of a supernatural being come to damn his soul to hell, because that's definitely the outlook of this era. But eventually the ghost appears, and unlike everyone else who is terrified by the ghost, Hamlet is not. Hamlet is quite excited to see a bizarre supernatural figure in the form of his father in total battle gear. While this would terrify most people, like I said, Hamlet is ecstatic to see this ghost, and not only agrees to talk to him, he refuses to let anyone go with him. Considering this was Horatio's plan, he's definitely regretting a lot of choices he's made recently. Just letting the Prince of Denmark go off with some supernatural creature who could be Satan himself is a bad idea, and generally the marker of a bad friend. Good friends gonna keep you away from the devil. Bad friends gonna take you just right to him and let you have a one-on-one. So Horatio's got some regrets right now. It's just them. They're sitting there, they're waiting. And in the meantime, Hamlet is speaking with this ghost. And this ghost proceeds to confirm every fear that he has ever had as a 16th century man or the son of a king. First and foremost, purgatory is confirmed to be real. The ghost shares that he, Hamlet's father, is in complete misery every day, all day, until he completes this task. He will remain in purgatory, which is just barely above hell. And in order for him to escape this purgatory, it would seem that Claudius must die. Very odd question for a father to ask of his son. I mean, yes, it's the 16th century, swords, stabby, stabby, battle time. I understand. Very, very reasonable, thought process for the 16th century. However, if Hamlet Sr. truly loved his son, why wouldn't he just encourage him to go about this the legal way? I mean, if Claudius is a murderer, then the kingdom will happily celebrate his head just rolling right off. That's technically a 16th century peasant's day off. They would love to see an execution. So it's quite confusing as to why this ghost is so determined to bloody Hamlet's hands. And what's even more confusing is the ghost's dedication to Gertrude. Despite the fact Gertrude remarried less than a month and a half after his death, Gertrude is supposed to just be left alone. God will deal with her, is what the ghost says. And Hamlet, being young and naive, just buys into this whole ghost scenario. He questions the ghost a little bit, but there's not a whole lot of doubt on his end. He just sees a figure that looks like his father, and he goes, yes, I will trust it. Probably not a good idea. Eventually, Hamlet returns to his compatriots to share at least a little bit of what the ghost has said, and mainly just the fact that they talked. He won't tell anyone anything. and Horatio and Marcellus are trying to get at least something out of him. Like, are you okay? Have you been bewitched? Do we need to get you to a priest? What is it, good Sir Hamlet? And Hamlet instead just pulls out a sword and he's like, nope, y'all are going to be quiet. Swear to me on my sword. You will not say that this never happened. We were never out here. There was no ghost. Swear on my sword or I will stab you. So they do. They simply swear on his sword, and that is that. So that brings us to the end of Act 1 of Lit PR's coverage of Hamlet. As new developments continue, we will keep you in the loop. Stay strong, stay safe, stay informed.